Get to the news. When asked last week by reporters if he was confident that he could get voting rights legislation passed, President Biden said, quote, "I hope we can get this done, but I'm not sure." Wow. Quite a turn from the yes we can days. It's like Nike changing their slogan to, I don't know, go for it if you want. First Lady Dr. Jill Biden volunteered at a food bank yesterday and wore a Philadelphia Eagles t-shirt, which was a nice way of showing she understands pain and hardship. Former President Donald Trump held his first rally of the year over the weekend in Arizona and is already back to telling lies.
I love Arizona.
Come on. The CDC is reportedly experiencing a massive wave of staff burnout, and even that was reported 2 weeks late. Americans will be able to order free at-home rapid coronavirus tests from the federal government this week. And in equally timely news, 2020 New Year's glasses. We like to get you the tests after the wave. Former President Trump has reportedly been complaining to confidants about Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and said he has a, quote, dull personality. I'm sorry, that's suddenly a concern of yours? Your vice president was like if a rice cake went to Bible school. Republican Senator Mitt Romney warned in a new interview that Russian President Vladimir Putin is attempting to weaken the NATO alliance and recreate the Soviet Union. Oh, thanks, Mitt. Mitt Romney's like a dad who wanders in while you're watching Harry Potter and says, "That Voldemort fella looks like bad news to me." We know, Dad! Get out! DirecTV announced on Friday that it will drop the far-right television channel One America News from its service once its current contract expires, or sooner if it rains really hard. Yeah. Thought that was going to be a joke about OAN, but we went after DirecTV. A Florida Republican who lost a congressional special election last week by 59 points is refusing to concede the race, but eventually he'll have to go back to his old job as Florida's math teacher of the year. Hopefully people watching this on DirecTV got some really hard rain before that joke. And finally, according to a new study, playing a tape recording of people's names while sleeping can improve name recall the next day. So shout out to my writers Ian, Brian, and Turn Tape Over. So there was a new study about an old-timey tape player. President Biden is reportedly planning to communicate more directly with the American people in an effort to increase his poll numbers. So you might want to switch to the unlimited plan. Yeah, Build Back Better, right. No, okay. Yeah, no, Amtrak's great. Listen, I have to be, up in, 4 hours. House Democrats are reportedly urging party leaders to abandon President Biden's Build Back Better bill and instead break up the proposals into a series of smaller defeats. The Senate today took up debate on a House-passed voting rights package that combines the Freedom to Vote Act and the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. Of course, it's already dead in the water thanks to Can't Act and Won't Act. In a new interview, political strategist James Carville said the Democrats should, quote, just quit being a whiny party and get out there and fight and tell people what you did. Said Democrats, that sounds hard. Former New York Mayor Bill de Blasio announced today that he will not run for governor. He then announced something else, but no one heard it over the thunderous applause. A video gained attention online over the weekend of Oklahoma pastor Mike Todd spitting in his hand and rubbing it onto his brother's eyes during a sermon, which is weird for a pastor, but very on brand for an older brother. Health officials in Greece yesterday imposed a vaccine mandate for all citizens over 60 years old. So if you're a 60-year-old in Greece, you're Rizzo. I had a very depressing thing just happen where there was one person enthusiastically liked it. And I'm like, well, least there's one audience member here worth their salt. And then I turned around and it was Amber. It was our writer, Amber Ruffin. And now I'm starting to think you didn't even laugh at the joke. Knowing Amber, you were laughing at how it went. You're out of the Pink Ladies. All right, I would never do this during the show, but we're gonna stop it all down and make everybody watch Grease. A man in South Dakota was arrested recently after his mother served brownies that he made with marijuana butter at a senior center. Caretakers became suspicious when that night's comedian got laughs. The FDA last week approved the first treatment to control arthritis pain for cats. It will replace the old treatment, a brick and a burlap sack. You gotta clear the palate. And finally, according to a new study, men who live alone for years are at a greater risk of developing inflammation. It's just a lot of stress to put on one wrist. Makes you reassess the dead cat joke, though. Tomorrow will mark the end of the first year of President Biden's time in office. So, buddy, you got like 24 hours to make something happen. You gotta cancel student debt or bring back Lost or something. I mean, even MSNBC is struggling with headlines. The House committee investigating the Capitol attack issued a subpoena yesterday to Rudy Giuliani, though really all you have to do to make Rudy appear is draw a pentagram on the floor with Maalox. The Biden administration announced a plan today to give Americans hundreds of millions of high-quality medical-grade face masks. They're just doing that now? What are they sending out next? Sourdough starter? That's right, the Biden administration will distribute hundreds of millions of high-quality masks through pharmacies like Walgreens and CVS. Unfortunately, they're behind the razors, and the one guy with the key is on lunch break. A White House official told CNN that the distribution of 400 million free N95 masks next week is, quote, the largest deployment of personal protective equipment in U.S. history, besides, of course, the week that freshmen head off to college. Democratic Louisiana Senate candidate Gary Chambers released a new campaign ad yesterday about legalizing marijuana that appears to show him smoking a blunt. He's got my vote, said people who will forget to vote. Walmart is reportedly planning to create its own NFTs, and if you want to laugh, ask one of their greeters about it. I have no idea what that is. Maybe try sporting goods? The cost for an annual City Bike membership in New York will increase next week by $6. So to get their money's worth, riders will have to start throwing an additional bike into the Hudson every week. According to a new survey, 19% of adults are participating in so-called dry January, which is what your girlfriend experiences when you show her your Wordle score. I feel like 3% better than we thought. And finally, the Red Cross will offer blood donors a chance to win tickets to the Super Bowl if they donate this month. And for many donors, this could be their only chance to go. President Biden yesterday held a 1 hour and 51-minute press conference. It was the first thing Americans actually wish Joe Manchin had stopped. During his press conference yesterday, President Biden said Republicans were responsible for some of his stalled agenda and added, quote, I honest to God don't know what they're for. Of course, that's the same thing he said about AirPods. Today is the one-year anniversary of President Biden's inauguration, and he's not going to like Amanda Gorman's new poem. There once was a man named Joe Biden, whose office he usually cried in. All right, that's enough. President Biden said yesterday that his first year in office has been, quote, a year of challenges, but he'd rather focus on the positives, like your COVID test. I can make it because I've had it now. The Supreme Court voted 8-1 yesterday in favor of releasing former President Trump's White House records to the House committee investigating the January attack on the Capitol. 8-1. This may be the first recorded instance of Donald Trump inspiring bipartisanship. Former President Trump said yesterday that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi should be banned from trading stocks, which brings us to a segment called, Damn it, I agree with Trump. Man, there is nothing worse than hearing a Trump opinion and thinking, the man's got a point. But damn it, I agree with Trump. The only other time this has happened was when he said Ted Cruz might be the Zodiac killer. Oh, wait, I forgot. Also that press conference where he said McDonald's breakfast should be all day.
This has been Damn It, I Agree with Trump.
A British judge recently ordered a neo-Nazi convicted of terror charges to read classic literature as part of his sentence, including Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. Said the neo-Nazi, "Sweet, my two favorite things." Former President Trump, they say sweet a lot. People don't know that about neo-Nazis, but they're like, sweet. Former President Trump is currently on a media tour promoting his new photo book, Our Journey Together, and he's already being sued by iPhoto. And finally, a wildlife YouTuber on a trip to Thailand recently discovered a new species of tarantula that lives inside of bamboo plants. Yikes, that is a terrifying thought that even exists. A wildlife YouTuber, I mean.